Marcello, you're still here with us, and Gianluca, I see you're here as well. I propose that we start with Prosecco and then move to Ferrari. Does that make sense to everybody?
Agree.
Okay. So, Gianluca, tell us about Jiao and this delicious one that we have in front of us.
Thank you, James. Jiao is did you hear me?
Okay. Yes, sorry, I interrupted you.
Good. So this is Jiao. Jiao is the nickname of my grandfather, Desiderio Jiao. This man here, he's my grandfather, Jiao. So I decided to dedicate to him a special cuvée of 3 kinds of soil. As I said before, we are the only one winery family that produce 5 different Prosecco Superiore from 5 different kinds of soil. And the preferred soils of my grandfather Jiao was the sand soil, the morenic soil, and the clay soil. So we, for celebrate 100 years from his born, we decided to produce this cuvée of Prosecco Superiore, made only from the highest and steepest hills of 3 kinds of soil. 3 hills, 3 kinds of soil: clay soil, sand soil, and morenic soil. So thanks to these 3 kinds of soil, we have the opportunity to have the particular sensation that every kind of soil gives to the Prosecco. Because Prosecco Superiore is one of the most sensible wine for the change of the soil. It's so delicate, the grape of Glera, that is the grape of Prosecco, that change a lot when you are in different kind of soil. So, for example, the sand soil give a lot of flavors of apple, fruit in general, peach, and then many kind of fruit. The morenic soil give a lot of minerality to the Glera grape, and the clay soil give a lot of flavor of the flower. So these 3 influence give at the Jiao a special taste. This is a brut, so we are on 9 grams of sugar residual, and you can recognize this different flavor of fruit, and also tropical fruit, not only apple, peach, and pear that are the typical of Prosecco, but also tropical sensation of papaya and mango, and also some flower, white flower, chamomile, thyme, and a little sensation of minerality thanks to the morenic soil.
It's super refreshing. I remember being in the region last year. I think it was towards the end of the trip, and the trip, like all wine trips, all good wine trips, I should say, it's exhausting. It's tiring. You're jet lagged, and you're running around the country and you're tasting a bunch of wine, different food, and blah blah blah. And so I think we were all quite tired. We were invigorated by going up to Cartizze and then drinking some of this wine. But it really did kind of take us out of that midday kind of like, oh my gosh, we're so exhausted, into this sensibility of excitement, and it's very lively. I love it. Delicious.
Thank you. This incredible viticulture is so beautiful that UNESCO decided 1 year ago to give the heritage of the hills of Prosecco in Vado Biadere. So from 1 year we are also under the heritage of UNESCO. So we are one of the very few places in the world of wine that are under the UNESCO heritage.
And deservedly so. It's a really special place. It is. I will say, from my background, prior to last year, having never visited the region, I knew that there was serious wine being made in the region. but to be there in the vineyards and see the expositions and the slopes of some of these vineyards is to really understand how magical a place it is, and again, well worthy of the UNESCO designation. I think if people have the power, if you have thoughts that you want to voice, we're in a small enough breakout room now that if you want to unmute yourself and comment on the wine, please feel free to.
And if I may add, maybe ask your questions out loud at this point too, if that's all right, James.
Yes, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could explain a bit more about morenic soil. Is that the glacial soil?
Yeah, morenic soil is a very interesting soil in the area because it's the last last hills to be created from the geologic movement of the soil, because these are the last long line of hills before the flat area, and this was like the left part of the very big river after the glaciation. So after the time of glaciation, become a big river that move a lot of stones, and the characteristic of this hill is to be rich of a lot of small round stone. So it's rich of stone, and this gives this minerality sensation of the Prosecco Superiore. Thank you for this question, very interesting.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions on how the wine is made?
Oh, yes, actually, for this particular bottling, are you doing anything? I mean, you chose the three soils, the highest hills. Are you doing anything special about the production for this bottling?
Thank you, Beth. Yes, for produce this Prosecco Superiore, we also have a particular attention to the harvest time. So we go through the vineyard 3 times during a month for picking the grape of the perfect time of maturation. We put in small boxes and we arrive in the winery. And after, we separate the bunch from the steam, and we put the bunch at a low temperature at around 8 Celsius degrees, so around 12 degrees less than the harvest temperature. And we leave the grape, the skin contact with the juice for all the night. And the day after, we press the grape. So this is a very particular work that we can do because we own the vineyard. If you don't own the vineyard, you can do this because you have to choose the perfect time of maturation of the grapes. Thank you for this question.
Are you thinking of getting into making Prosecco Rosé, the Rosato Prosecco?
Yeah, you know that Prosecco from ever have in these rules the opportunity to use also 15% maximum of different kind of vines, like local varieties like Bianchetta, Pereira, Verdiso, but also international variety like Chardonnay, Pinot Blanc, and Pinot Noir. Until this year, we can't use before the Pinot Noir in red, but only white. So from ever, Prosecco can use the Pinot Noir, but in white. From the last year, we can use the Prosecco, the Pinot Noir in red, and so like in Champagne, we can mix with the white, but only for the moment, only in the basic denomination, so in the flat area of Veneto and Friuli, and not in the historical hills of Valdobbiadene and Conegliano. Here we are more conservative, so we don't want to innovate too much. But I think that can be very interesting to taste what happened with the longer contact skin, like for the Pinot Noir, and take the color. So I'm very curious to see how the market will accept this special, this new version of Prosecco, the Prosecco Rosé. Thank you for your question, Jamie.
Obviously a very hot market for sure, rosé and bubbles. combined. I have a question for you, Gianluca, and that is, in regards to Cartizze, are there plans at Bisol to make a wine with lower sugar or even zero dosage?
Yes, we do this. We do this in a very special harvest, a very special vintage, like in 2011, 2014, and 2017. We do a small production of Cartizze with a long contact in the bottle with the yeast, so with the classic method, and only 21 months of contact. So at the end, the Cartizze was totally dry, 0.8 gram of sugar residual per liter. And this was an incredible result because we win a lot of prize around the world with this very small production. But for me, this was only to show what we can do with this kind of grape if we use the most interesting method for the most noble method for the sparkling wine, that is the classic method. Thank you, James.
Is Cartizze,
question very big.
sorry, I have a question. Is Cartizze a sub-region that's like a cru that can appear on labels now? If you want, can you bottle Cartizze wine? Is that something that you'll see on a handful of Prosecco bottlings, or?
Can you repeat the question? I don't understand very well. What you
Does
mean?
Cartizze, as a sub-region, I understand. I've never seen it on a label before. Is it something that appears on a label as like a cru designation, the way, say, Sasella appears in Valtellina?
Yes. Cartizze is, you can use the name Cartizze when you produce the grape from the hill of Cartizze. That is only 107 hectares of vineyard in the total area of Prosecco that are 35,000 hectares. So every 600 bottle of Prosecco, only one can be Cartizze, and you find the name Cartizze in the label. Is a special denomination of Prosecco Superiore.
So we talked a little bit about food in relation to this wine, but what are people thinking? Like Alexandra, I see you're driving, so hopefully you're not drinking. But what are other people? What does this make you hungry for?
Can you repeat the question? Is for me the question?
It was just it was a question to the group in general, and I'm asking them what this wine. What they're thinking in terms of what they want to eat with this particular wine.
I mean, for me, with the tropical notes, I mean, some, kind of like salad with orange or pineapple, some other sort of tropical fruit, I think would really, really pop with this.
I'd like to see some sort of like bouillabaisse or other seafood, but to be honest, these salted potato chips are treating the wine pretty nice.
Katie, you're making me hungry. I love it. I love sparkling wine and potato chips. And Michael, I love your suggestion of salad too. I think both of those. So the potato chips obviously is a contrast, right? It's salty and fatty, and the acid of the wine cuts through it, and probably those floral notes accentuate the potato chips as well. I'm a big fan of potato chips, by the way. I think it's a great pairing. The other thing to note about Prosecco and this bottling in particular is that it's 11.5% alcohol, so you can drink a bottle.
Gianluca, in terms of Prosecco, the general public, often uses it as an aperitif. Where do you see the Cartizze brand positioning going in the future?
I think that everybody that fall in love with the Prosecco style, and you know that you have these three different levels: Prosecco DOC, basic Prosecco from the flat area, Prosecco Superiore from Valdobbiadene, Conegliano, and Asolo, and Cartizze, very few bottles. Everybody that fall in love with Prosecco, at the end want to try the step before, the higher step of Prosecco. At the end, they arrive to try the best in class of Prosecco, so the Cartizze. I think that this can be the special battle for the Prosecco lovers in general. I think that there will be not enough for everybody because the production is very small. But if someone loves the Prosecco, at the end will fall in love also with the Cartizze because it is the maximum amplification of the flavor of Prosecco.
That's great. I have a question for both you and Marcello, and that is, without naming it, I will say that there is a region of famous region in Italy that makes sparkling wine that is particularly not fond of comparisons to regions such as Champagne. And I just wonder, both for Trento Doc and for Prosecco, what the general feeling is in terms of comparing the wines, whether that is something that you invite or you'd rather have them remain distinct, or just where you stand in regards to that.
Luca?
For me, the Prosecco can be an interesting pairing with a lot of situation in the life of everybody, because you can start drinking Prosecco early in the morning, and you can also end after the dinner with a Prosecco glass, because Prosecco is easy to drink. Everybody can understand the Prosecco. Everybody can enjoy the Prosecco, and if you have an event, you have an event with friends, you are sure that everybody love this kind of wine. It's not when in other situation you have to choose a wine and decide, oh, I don't know which wine we like, these people, and the other, no, they like Pinot Noir. No, with the Prosecco, you don't have this problem. Anytime, any kind of people can fall in love with Prosecco. So this is the success of this wine.
Gianluca's encouraging us to drink at breakfast. Just I want everybody to know that.
Exactly.
Marcello, how about you? How do you feel about that very controversial question?
Well, I feel very good. So it's that they are totally different, of course. Glera, the method, the spirit. When you approach the two different type of this sparkling wine. So you have the simplicity and the drinkability of a Prosecco, and if you want, your taste is want to try a little bit more or more complex, probably you find in a bottle of Ferrari something different. So in the Prosecco you have the primary aroma of Glera that you maintain with the method Charmat. In a Ferrari, in a bottle of fermented sparkling wine, you have the Chardonnay, but with the maturation of the lees, you want to add something more of the fruity flavor, of the freshness of a Chardonnay. So with the Perlet, we present now the Perlet 2014, is an 100% Chardonnay, only from our best vineyards that we have in Trentino, and is a white vinification. But the maturation on the lees is between 50 and 60 months, so it's a very long time. So during the tasting, I think you can recognize the freshness and the fruitness of a Chardonnay, but with something more, because this yeasty flavor, this hint of bread crust, the toasty, the maturation of the yeast make this wine with 3 dimensions. is long, is wide, but it has a volume in mouth. And when you drink this wine, the aftertaste is long, so more than 10, 15 seconds. And it's not because it has a high dosage of sugar, because this Perle has 4 gram liter. So we don't want to enrich this wine with the sugar, because the quality of the grapes and the quality of the harvest and the method in Ferrari make this sweetness naturally without the dosage. And you can storage and you can age this wine for 5-10 years after the dégaussement without problem. Of course, the taste change a little bit. So we have to teach to the people, to the customers, how to drink this type of wine, because it's not so easy like a Prosecco. And it's a pity that the people expect maybe the freshness, and they found the maturation or a matured wine. This wine you can drink and you can eat everything. I'm joking with my father for many years, because my father is a sommelier. 50 years ago, he started the sommelier society here in Trento. But with a sparkling wine, I'm joking with my father. I tell him, sorry, father, but with a metodo classico like a Perle, you can't do anything. You cannot suggest anything, because you can drink and eat everything. Of course, you have to stop before the dessert, because the dosage is not married with a dessert. But from 9 in the morning to 12 in the midnight, you can drink this wine. Of course, with a different approach, because it's more taste, more body, and I think is like to drive a supercar. You have to have the right license to drive a supercar. But if you have it, you have a fun.
I see what you're doing there with the Ferrari tie-in. No, I'm kidding. Just so everybody knows, there's no connection to the car with this wine. This is not a car wine.
Wow.
These wines are really special. Just like the Bisol wines, they certainly take you to a different place. I have had the opportunity to drink this particular wine at Villamargon, which is part of the Ferrari property, which is absolutely stunning. Just like tasting the João in Cartize, what really was transformative. And I am always amazed at how the quality of these wines in relation to Champagne, for instance. And I know I'm not here necessarily to invite comparisons between Ferrari and Champagne, but it is, I think, natural to do so because the quality and complexity is so high. I just wonder what people's impressions of this wine are. And again, I'll always pose the question, even though I agree with Marcello, you could pretty much have this wine with anything. What is it making you think of eating right now in this moment?
I think it's something, because there's such richness to the wine, there's such texture, but there's also that acidity that you were talking about. I think that I want something with seafood, but something fatty. I think the acidity will cut through fat. I want scallops and bacon. I think that's like, scallops and pork belly is like a pretty common thing out there. And I think it would be really good with this wine.
I try to break a paradigm. If I suggest to drink a Ferrari with a very high quality pizza, what do you think?
I love the idea. Hats off to Jack Mason, who in New York City for a long time was a big Champagne.
Yeah, I actually we've had the Perle on our list before with pizza. It works absolutely tremendously.
Michael, where do you work?
I work at Marta. So I used to work with with Jack back in the day.
I think that Marta really has done great work in terms of making that particular pairing maybe more available, more logical. Whereas in the past you think, okay, pizza, I'm going to have Sangiovese, or I'm going to have, some kind of bread like that. But yeah, it works quite well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Other ideas about what you want to have? Okay, so if you're going to have pizza, what's on the pizza?
well, not too much. I think the natural pizza with good tomatoes, fantastic pasta, fermented and matured, good mozzarella, and extra virgin Italian olive oil with some spice. It's quite enough, and you have a really enjoyable meal.
Love it. Other ideas? Beth Hickey, you're out there. What do you want to drink with this? What do you want to eat?
I immediately thought of actually my homemade chicken pot pie that has lots of mushrooms and umami. And there's that butter and the salt in the crust. In fact, that might be what's happening tonight with the rest of it. This would be friendly at the table with almost everything. I agree, up until you got to dessert, and this could be dessert if you weren't done yet. Delicious.
Yeah, I think you just drink the wine and skip dessert, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marcello, what is the barrel regimen for the wine?
Sorry, the
barrel regimen, like oak.
Oh, the bar is around six bar.
Marcello, I think he's asking about aging in oak.
The aging oak. The aging oak of sorry, I understood the barrel. In the cuvée, we use for maximum between 10 and 20% of aging oak basis wine. So it's a very small amount, just to maintain open the wine during the maturation of the lees. Because we have another type of Ferrari called the Riserva Lunelli that is totally aged in big oak from September to June. So in our list, there is still a Ferrari in totally oak fermented. The Perlé has a very soft touch, just to become more round, the taste and the smell.
And Gianluca, I would imagine that it just doesn't make sense for the Glera grape or for Prosecco, the expression of Prosecco, to use any barrel. Is that the case?
Well, I use for the, not for Geo, but for the single soils crew, I use to fermented 5%, 4 to 5% in barrique. This is another interesting method that we use. We use to have, after the cryomaceration, the contact with the skin all the night, we leave we put the juice in 4 different parts, 4 different fermentation. At the end, we put again together. So the 4 fermentation, one is in barrique, and the other 3 are in steel tank, with 3 different kind of method for batonnage, for separation of the yeast, temperature of fermentation. So this is very interesting. And when you use to have a small production per hectare like we have, and you use this kind of special technique of skin contact at low temperature and different kind of fermentation, at the end you can also appreciate a Prosecco that is not very young. For example, last year I opened a bottle of Pertizia with you know, Tom Stevenson of famous writer of Book of Champagne, Tom Stevenson from London, and we opened a bottle of Cartizia of 1977, and this was incredible. So more than 40 years in an incredible result, because, for example, Cartizia is so special that you can also bring the bottle and drink after years. There is an interesting, very interesting evolution of the original flavors.
It makes sense because obviously there was a time at which there was no stainless steel available, and I imagine the local wood was what people used to ferment and age the wines. Yeah.
Exactly.
What else, everybody? Are you excited to be drinking sparkling wine? It's almost 1 o'clock here on the West Coast, but at the East Coast, it's drink o'clock. So hopefully people are enjoying it. And Marcello and Gianluca, it's getting nearing bedtime for you.
Can I ask, since we're drinking 2014, can you tell us a little bit about what 2014 was like as a vintage?
Yes, the 2014, it has been quite not top years in Italy, because we had during the harvest not a good weather, because it was rain for frequently days during the harvest. But Perlé is made from special vineyards located on the very deep slope of the hills in Trentino, and so we had the time to wait that the grapes had the time to become matured between one rain and another rains. So in bibliography, the 214, it has been not a fantastic years, but in Trentino for a basis wine, it has been not too bad. Of course, if in average we produce in a normal vintage around 1 million bottles of Perlé, in the 2014 we produce 600,000 bottles. So we had or we reduce the production because the vintage, it has been not so good.
I think this is the one of your lineup, Marcello, that I always appreciate. Of course, I appreciate the entire lineup, but Perlé to me always seems to be very representative of the house in general and the quality. If you could talk just a little bit about how this falls within your lineup, I think that would be appreciated.
Well, this wine is a part of our vintage labels. So we have the Perlé is at the beginning of the pyramid. Then we have another Perlé called the Perlé Bianco. Is a super extremely restricted quality cuvée of the Perlé, and stay on the list 3 years more. Then we have the rosé, the rosé vintage, so the Perlé rosé. Then we have the Riserva Lunelli, so the wine in totally barrel fermented. We introduced in the 2002 the Perlé Nero, so is a totally Blanc de Noir. Is completely different, of course, because is from a red varieties we produce a white wine for 8 years on the lease, and is an extra brut. And on the top of the pyramid, we have Giulio Ferrari, Riserva del Fondatore. That is a cru from Maso Pianizza, is the oldest vineyards that my family has since 1967. and is 100% of Chardonnay, 10 years on the lease. So we produce only one type of sparkling wine, and is like the light. The light is white, but is made from different colors. So we produce 15 different labels of Ferrari to offer 15 different experience, 15 different time to spend the money, because of course it's easy to produce a good wine very with a high price. The problem is to sell 5.5 million bottles in the right prices. So it's a well balanced. We are two companies in only one name, a company for the off trade and one company from the on trade. The same people, the same method, different objective on the market, but same quality, of course, with different maturation and different targeting of prices.
And Gianluca, you talked a little bit about your single site or soil series line. Was that controversial in any way when you started doing that?
Yes, this is an idea of my grandfather Gio, and this was a very smart guy, because at the end, when we decided to do this single soil, we have an incredible opportunity to engage the people with the Prosecco Superiore. When you drink 5 Prosecco Superiore from 5 different kind of soil, and you recognize that this kind of grape is so sensible to the different kind of soil, you are engaged with the world of Prosecco. And at the end, when you taste the king of Prosecco, that is the Cartizze, you become a fan forever of our production, because it's something that you didn't expect from the simple world of Prosecco. And with this idea of my grandfather Gio, we have this opportunity to bring the people forever to be fan of our effort in the vineyard.
I have to agree. Having tasted all the wines in a lineup, it really is quite remarkable. I mean, you think Glera is, this grape that produces fun and vivacious wines, but it can also produce very serious wines. And to see the differences that the different soils, the terroirs, produce is quite fascinating. It is a blended terroir for sure. But I don't know how to say that in Italian.
Thank you.
What else are people feeling out there? What do you think of these wines in general? Obviously, they're. I don't think there's a market in the United States that does not see the Bisol or Ferrari. So I'm assuming you're familiar with them. But if you're not, please feel free to pipe up too. If you're just coming to them for the first time and experiencing them now, I'd just love to hear what you think. Or if you've known them for a long time, your thoughts.
I'll jump in. I think they're both beautiful examples of their the Glera grape Prosecco. This is stunning. I happen to, in my other professional life, represent another Prosecco producer, and it's wonderful to taste Glera in all of its different forms and from the different soil types. So this is fascinating, and yours is stunning. And then for the Ferrari, it's wonderful to taste such complexity and such nuance and such elegance from something outside of Champagne. So it's exemplary example. It's beautiful. So that's what I have to add. And I'll mute myself.
I think it's
Thank
pretty
you.
fascinating to realize that up until 30 years ago, Prosecco wasn't even exported out of the area. And now it's kind of just a no-brainer on everybody's lips. Working in restaurants now, people come in and just order Prosecco when they're walking in the door. I think it's kind of a testament to how these producers have really come onto the world scene and represented Italy in such a beautiful way.
That's great. And I think one thing that we always emphasize on these trips is not only the glory of the wines and the terroir and all the care and love that goes into making them, but also the commercial aspect of this, because this is what we do. We're wine for professionals, right? We're sommeliers, or we work in the trade, and business matters too. And so sometimes well, I would just say this from my perspective, that earlier in my career when I was younger, and I don't know, maybe I've gained some wisdom over time, maybe not, but I think that I really was very intrigued or in love with the wines where there was only 2 barrels of it made, and so on and so forth. But I just want to emphasize that the importance of scale, and that quality can come at scale. And both of these producers managed to do that on a profound level, and it's not easy to do. I'm always fascinated by that, about how not only you're able to farm enough land and bring in enough quality grapes, but also to vinify them in such a careful way. And when you visit both of these properties, you really do see that level of detail. We only have a few minutes left here, but Marcello and Gianluca, I would just ask of you, if for our folks here in the United States, what are we missing by not being there right now in terms of what's happening both in Trento Doc with Ferrari and in Valle Viadene with Bisol?
Marcello?
Vai.
But in the Valdobbiadene, we have a lot of work to do, because you know that we are a young case of the area is a young case of success around the world. When I start to work 33 years ago, my father and my uncle tell me, "Oh, sorry, you arrived too late," because is around 3-4 years that Prosecco is so successful. This was 33 years ago. And so you arrived too late, because now is the time for another wine. But I tell them, why Prosecco have to stop to grow in the market? It's so beautiful to drink Prosecco during all the time of the day. The people fall in love with this wine. And also the quality price ratio is incredible. So I think that we have to work to improve the opportunity for the customer to recognize the different level of Prosecco. Because now major part of people know only the word Prosecco. They didn't know that there is a Prosecco Superiore that is from the historical part. This is the next challenge for us, is to help the people to remember that there are different level of quality of Prosecco. Like for Champagne, there is the basic Champagne, the Premier Cru, the Grand Cru. For Prosecco is the basic Prosecco DOC, the Prosecco Superiore, and the Cartizze. This is the challenge that we have for the future. And then I work all my life for speak about Prosecco around the world. In my life, I have 3,000 fly all around the world. I sell the first bottle of Prosecco in UK in 1985, when nobody know about this wine, and they drink it all in Champagne at this time. And now you know that Prosecco is the best seller in UK, for example. And I continue to travel all around the world to underline the difference of Prosecco Superiore from the Prosecco DOC, and to specify that Prosecco is not an imitation. It's something that is inspired by Champagne, but is a special kind of grape from Italy with a special tradition and special flavors that is like a symbol of the Italian informal way of life. Elegant, but informal. Like for a car, you choose a cabrio, no? It's more informal, more easy. Prosecco is like a cabrio, it's more informal, more easy. And there is a lot of moment in the day to go through the street with a cabrio during the summer, no? Like with a glass of Prosecco.
I love it.
For us, we have a different challenge. First of all, to become the official Italian toast to all the Italian people all around the world. It's a very, very, very hard challenge. Another challenge is to bring all the Trento DOC overseas, because now we are the most export company inside the Trento DOC, but we want and we have to go all together, because it's not enough to have a Ferrari in United States, but we want to have a category, Trento DOC. It's not easy because 4 companies are quite big in the Trento DOC, and the rest of the 50 companies are very, very small. But this is the 2 main challenge, to increase and to make the right, and I think the good success of a Ferrari and Trento DOC in the next 5 years.
I'm so happy you brought that up, Marcello, because Gianluca, Bisol, of course, is one of the great names in Prosecco, for sure. And Marcello, not to diminish anybody in Trento DOC, but Ferrari is the big name for sure. So the thing that people are buying right now is Ferrari and not Trento DOC. So I think, to your point, it's really important to make sure that your neighbors are also part of the rise of Trento DOC, and that people understand what serious wine can be made from it. And on that note, I'm just going to pour a little bit more wine in my glass and raise a toast to all of you for being here today. It will be great when we're back, hopefully next year, who knows when, tasting in the vineyard at Villa Morgan, at Cartizze, wherever we might be within Italy, and eating some local food and being in person. This is not that, but hopefully we brought it a little bit closer than we would have otherwise been able to do.